Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Retro Warriors episode 337. As always, I'm your host, Justin Baker, and as always, I'm joined by resident old bastard, Chris Saturn.
Oh, no.
Saturn, it doesn't pick up your woo at all anymore.
What?
And so people talk about you saying woo at the beginning of the shows, and every time they do, I'm like, he doesn't do that anymore.
Yeah, I do.
And I realize it's because it cuts it out. I mean,
What
Discord
cuts it
just
out?
cuts it
Oh,
straight
Discord
out.
cuts it
Yeah.
out. Oh, huh.
So I never hear it. I just assume it's
Just
I
assume
pause
it's
for
there.
it.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's in my scripts. It's pause for woo right there.
Okay,
So I
good.
don't.
That's good.
Oh, we do have housekeeping,
Yes, sir.
which is really two things. One, Guy is here. Well, he's usually here, but he's going to be here at the end of the show. He's going to do the after party with us,
Yes.
and talk about his
Stuff.
Also, this is our last recording session of 2021.
Yes. It is also only December 10th for those
Yes.
paying attention. Now, this episode will be posted later than December 10th.
Yeah.
But we are recording it on December 10th.
Yeah.
So if all these crazy things happen between now and the end of the year,
sorry,
we didn't know. Sorry.
Sorry.
Our bad.
So basically we've decided to take a holiday break. We've never taken a holiday break from the show before, but we decided this year because Christmas and Christmas Eve fall on recording nights, and we're like, well, that would have to bump that, and if that's bumping that, we might as well bump the whole month into the first couple of weeks. So this is our third consecutive recording week, which is it's a lot, man.
It's a lot, but after this, we'll have several weeks off. The next time we record will be in the new year. So if people, because this episode I think gets posted in the new year already, So for people who are already listening and it's already 2022, don't spoil the future for us. Not just
Do you
yet.
think it's 2022 is going to be RoboCop or Mad Max?
It can be both.
I was thinking RoboCop, but now I'm thinking Mad Max, but instead of guzzling, they all want PlayStation 5s. You know what I
Can't
mean?
get them now.
Well, they're going to find them. There's somewhere. So all this to say that these two episodes might be weird, like we talked about previous recording session.
Sure.
And if you are an uncut listener, that means you're going to get all these episodes front loaded at the beginning of the month. So be sure to ration yourself, okay? Take it easy.
And if it's still the same weekend we recorded and you're already listening to this,
It's too soon.
Yeah, maybe
Too soon.
maybe pace it out a little.
Go drink some eggnog, relax, give it a couple days. You're going to want something to do the day after Christmas, okay? You're gonna want something.
You're not going to want to go back and listen to old episodes. Our microphone sucked then.
Ridiculous. So yeah, this is our last recording session of the year, and then we're going to be on holiday break. Not from podcasting. I still have 4 more podcasts to do this month.
For me. I'm not doing it.
But yeah, we'll be on break. We'll still be in the Discord and hanging out. It's not like we're like going anywhere. But the news segment on the first episode, when we come back, it's going to be real big.
A little bit.
Extra big one. Let's talk about weeks. I was very excited to download Monster Rancher 1 and 2 DX.
Nice. How did that turn out?
Oh, man. First of all, it's $29.99. That's U.S. American dollars.
So $15 a piece.
Yeah. And you have to buy it as a bundle. You can't buy them separate. And I was very excited because I played Monster Rancher when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And Monster Rancher is real fun. It is you raise monsters, and I mean raise in the kind of virtual pet sense, not in the Pokemon sense. Like in Pokemon, it's like you in air quotes raise them, which is like they came out of an egg and now they fight until they die or I get rid of them. You know,
Just
you
like
actually
real children.
when they
what you
come out of
do.
their egg.
You just hatch your children.
You
They can fight each other.
You actually like feed them and train them, and it's a whole like care routine. And then you go fight them in these tournaments, and then you want to have the best monster. And for people that don't remember Monster Rancher, it was kind of famous for the way it generated monsters was you would put a CD in, a music CD. And it would generate a monster based on the data from that CD. Of course, back when I was a kid, we assumed it listened to the whole album and then generated a monster on theme for that album. Really, it just reads a couple of random strings off of the CD.
Right.
And
checks the checksum or something for the entire disc.
Yeah, it matches it to some, whatever database it has,
Right.
and it generates you a monster. The new one it lets you type in the name of an album, and it will go search for it and generate as if that album was in your computer.
Yeah.
So I was very excited. It's been updated. They've already announced world tournaments for Monster Rancher, which I was excited about. I was like, man, this is really cool. They're kind of like putting some effort into this. You know, nice. It's a decent... Because they could have just done what a lot of the ROM hacks do, which is it just generates monsters randomly.
Right.
But they went the extra mile. They made it so that it actually functions feasibly. They're doing these world tournaments. They've had multiple announcements. And then I opened the game, and on the title screen, it said tap to start.
Now, you were playing on a Switch with the touchscreen, right?
No, I was playing on my Windows 10 PC.
Oh, was it one with a touchscreen?
Nope. So I click on where it says tap to start. And whenever I click, my mouse shoots this big like halo of light around it. You know, the kind of thing you might do to helpfully indicate where you've just tapped on a screen with your big pudgy finger.
Yeah.
So that you can tell where you're tapping. And I was like, this is problematic. And it gets in the game and it has huge buttons on the side as if it is a mobile game.
Yeah.
And it's how you do everything. And so I plug in a controller and the controller just taps the buttons.
Oh, no.
You can't get them to go away. It's bad. And then I get in there and I'm like, all right, I guess I'm going to generate a monster. And I go to click the thing where it's like type in a name. And I hit it with my controller, hit the A button, and it pops open a keyboard. Mm-hmm. And I try to move the cursor around on the keyboard. And I can't.
Well, does your actual keyboard work at that point?
No, you got to click it. It's a click keyboard.
Lord. You can't just type with your real physical keyboard?
I don't think so.
Ugh.
I don't think so. Maybe I could. I don't know. Maybe I could. Either way, it was annoying. It's very annoying. You can't play. It's a PlayStation 1 game. You can't play with a controller for crap. And I put in like 2 hours on it, and finally I was like, man, I really want to like this game. But then they had some other problems because this is obviously spoilers. It's the mobile port.
What?
That came out in Japan, and so the mobile port also had problems in that it wouldn't let you skip training animations. They removed that feature from the game.
That's a weird thing to remove.
I know, and they're not short. And so that's really annoying. So not only is it a more annoying version of the game to play, but they included a fast forward because it's very slow. It's that PS1 kind of design where you're like, oh my God, why does it take so long to do anything?
Because they were hiding loading time.
And you can turn on fast forward, which makes it go a little snappier. But then the second you get in a battle, the game is unplayable because it's on fast forward. And the battles are real time.
And it doesn't have like a quick toggle to turn.
No, you have to hit the pause button and then go down to fast forward and hit off, and it's
that's so dumb.
And I almost kept it because I was like, man, I really want this. Like Monster Rancher has got nothing. Last Monster Rancher game was like on DS and it was crap. Like I think maybe I might be thinking of something else. I know there's a Game Boy Color game. Yeah. That was the card game. Anyway, I just really wanted it to... It didn't even have to be good. It just had to be like Monster Rancher, and it works. That was all that it needed, and it was so bad. I got a refund on it, and then I went and I fussed around with playing it via emulation, and that... First, I went and downloaded the fan hack, and it generates monsters based on the time of the year that you are generating the monster. Here's the problem with that. When I go to generate, I can only get one monster.
Right, because it's still this time of the year.
It's still that same time of the year. So I generate a monster and I go, all right, I'll just waste a month until it's the next season and then go try to generate a new monster. And I go to generate and they go, oh, you already have a monster. So you have to go get rid of your monster permanently. Like send them off into the wilderness. Goodbye. Get out of here.
Send them to that monster ranch upstate New York.
I don't think they kill them, but maybe wait because they like walk off down the city street. Maybe there's a guy around the corner with a gun that just blasts them when they just chuck them into the...
Not like the end of Stand By Me where it's walking down the street and then it just slowly fades away.
Chuck them into the unwanted monster pile, It's just... I got dark. And so...
This monster never made it back from the war.
Then I go to generate a monster and it tries to generate, and the monster that it's now on is a rare monster that I'm not high enough level to use. Mm-hmm. So I can't generate a monster.
Oh.
And I'm like, but I've already gotten rid of my monster. It's just a clusterfuck. So I'm like, all right, fine. I'll just play the original ROM and I'll just put fucking CDs in my computer.
Yeah.
And RetroArch does not like that at all. It's like, please don't do this. It locks up. It locked up my whole computer. And so now I'm just mad. I'm
use a PlayStation. They make those.
Yeah, but then I got to buy Monster Rancher, and it's expensive, and I sold my copy.
Yeah, just burn it.
I can't play burned PlayStation games.
Discs on a PS1.
I don't wanna, Saturn. I don't wanna, because then I got to keep doing the swap thing because I got to put the disc back in when it's done. I guess it doesn't read the copy protection when you put it back in a second time after putting the music CD.
Right.
I don't know. It just is. It's just bad. And I was like, all right, look. If this were on my phone, it would be okay.
Yeah.
So I go to download the Android port. I'm like, fine, I'll just play it on Android. That's fine. Not there. They haven't come out with the Android version in the US. So I go and I look on the iOS App Store. It's there. And I'm like, it's like Koei Tecmo was like, how do we piss Justin off? Just him. We don't care about anybody else. Just Justin. We want him pissed right off. So I refunded it. I left it a bad review. They don't even have Steam achievements. Like, it's...
That's weak.
Yeah, like, just nothing. Nothing.
That feels pretty half-assed.
And when you boot it boots up in a little window, and you hit config, and it pops up like a Visual Basic, like a Windows dialog box that the config is in. It doesn't even go all the way to 1080p. 1600 by 1900 is the highest resolution. And it's just bad. And I was like, maybe I can remap the controls. You can't. You can change which buttons on a controller are mapped to which keyboard keys. But that doesn't help. It's just...
That's so weird.
It's so bad. It is like... If Grand Theft Auto Trilogy hadn't come out this year, I'd be saying like worst port of the year. Easy. Yeah. So I just was very frustrated. Now I feel like I want to play Monster Hunter and I can't, and I'm mad about it. Monster Rancher, and I'm mad about it. Just want to ranch some monsters.
Yeah. I only knew one guy who was big into that series. It was one of my coworkers at EB, and he was constantly going next door to Virgin Megastore looking for rare CDs with good monsters attached.
Oh man, it was so much fun. It'd probably feel tedious today. I mean, the original game is so slow and and honestly, swapping out the CDs was cool then, but it'd probably just feel annoying now. You'd probably just be like, "Why don't you just give it to me randomly? I don't need to get up. Please don't make me get up." I'll be if I'm playing a game on my Xbox and I want to play a different game and it's a disc, I'll be like, "I don't want to play it that bad. I don't want to get up."
I thought that it would have been cool if they had just had it like tie into your Spotify library, or you just look at your current playlist and be like, all right, you get this.
I mean, theoretically, that's kind of what it does. Like, all it does is just look at the text, So like, you just type in what you're listening to that day or whatever,
Right.
Anyway, that was my morning. I wasted like 3 hours of my life on this like journey to nowhere.
Yeah, it was pretty great in the Discord watching your disappointment grow. That's pretty funny from an outside perspective. Like,
because at first I was like so excited, and then the first screenshot I posted was just the title screen that said "Tap to Start," and I was like, oh no.
I felt so bad because I know that you were looking forward to it.
Yeah.
But man, it's hard not to laugh at that bad. It's just, man,
it's tremendous.
Come on, guys.
Yeah. I feel bad because the creator of it like keeps doing these videos on YouTube, and he's like, "I'm real excited for everyone to play my game. I love that it's coming out." And you're like, "Buddy, what are you doing, man?" Like,
hopefully he didn't have any input on that. Hopefully it was handled by some interns or something.
I'm like, have you played it? Like, what is going on?
Right.
Anyway, that's me. It's got very positive reviews on Steam, which I don't fucking understand.
Anyway.
I don't know. And then I was reading about it in the forums trying to figure out like, have people fixed this? Their fan patches yet? I don't know. And
it's been out for like a day, and you're like,
I know. Well, I was like, please, someone fix something.
Right.
And I'm like, I've got it pulled up on Steam right now, and I'm looking at screenshots, and I just want it so bad. And like people are like, make sure you give a good reviews so that we get more of these. And it's like, that's not quit.
You don't just automatically earn a good review because I want more of it.
They did a bad job, but I do want more, please. Please. Anyway, what have you been doing, Saturn?
Not much. I did play some Superliminal. It was on Game Pass. It was one of those things that when I first saw it, it looked interesting enough that I wanted to play it, but not interesting enough to invest money in yet until I knew how it was. And now it's on Game Pass, so I got to play around with it, and it is neat. It's one of those kinds of games. You know how like when you play Tetris for too long, you start to just see Tetris blocks everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is similar. Only everything in the game is like normal, everyday objects that just happen to drastically change in shape based on perception.
Yeah.
And so I'm just looking around my apartment, and I'm like, I'd be able to reach that shelf a lot easier if I just moved this shaving cream can over here and made it 8 feet tall. Wait a minute, that's not how reality works.
Right.
But no, it's a neat little game, neat little puzzles. I'm enjoying it. And then, so mild spoiler for anybody who hasn't played it and is interested in it. The game touches on sleep studies and possible mental issues. And the first 3 levels are just kind of goofy. It's got that same kind of sense of humor as Portal.
Yeah.
And then the 4th level is in the dark. The whole time you've got very few lights, and there appears to be blood streaks everywhere.
Oh, God. Oof. I'm getting creeped out just hearing this.
Well, it's suddenly spoiler of a spoiler. You get to the end of that chapter, and it's just there was a power outage, and it wasn't really blood. It was some paint because they were repainting this one room.
It would still.
Yeah.
It's
really
at that point, I'd be so on edge of like
right
the next thing they do.
Yeah, and the thing is, like the whole time I'm playing it, I'm like, this is really dark, and it's a really neat idea that they decided to just make it silent. And then I get to the next level and realize that no, the game just glitched and wasn't playing audio that entire level. And so there was audio, and I missed out on some dialogue, and so then I had to replay it. But it's good. I am enjoying the game. I did like the random arbitrary dark level, and it still has the Portal sense of humor even in the dark level, because you're in the dark, you're fumbling about, you finally find a closet with a little bit of light, and there's a light pointed right at a board where somebody's written their agenda for the week. And Sunday through Friday, their agenda is murder, and Saturday it's beans.
You gotta have your bean day.
Yeah, it's just
don't skip bean day.
Murder, beans.
This is neither here nor there, but just hearing about this game makes me think about it. They came out with like a super deluxe version of the Stanley Parable. Have you looked into that? Like, what's new in that?
Not yet. I did hear about that, but I haven't picked that up yet.
I'm excited to retry
that. I finally got my achievement in the Stanley Parable for having not opened it for 5 years.
I gotta be coming up on it then.
Yeah, I kept looking at what the last date that Steam said I played it was, and I finally hit that 5-year mark, and I opened it up again, and it didn't give me the achievement immediately, and I was like, oh no, did I go too early? And then like a couple minutes later, it pops up and gives me the achievement. So,
yeah,
that's good.
Let's do the news. First up, German court orders Nintendo to offer refunds on pre-orders canceled before the game is released. As well, they fucking should.
Yeah.
Why is this hard?
So Nintendo had tried to say that the quote-unquote performance had already begun because the user had the right to download a token saying they owned the game.
Yes.
And the courts rightfully decided that's bullshit. And that they have to offer a chance for people to refund. And as soon as the ruling came into effect, Nintendo had that system in place online within maybe an hour or two.
Which is the fastest they've responded to anything ever.
Right. So suddenly in Europe, you could refund any pre-orders up until I think it was 3 days before the game came out. You still can't refund then. And last I heard, you have to contact Nintendo for a refund at that time. So it's still, I don't know if that's exactly following the muling or if maybe that's within the letter of the ruling, but not the spirit. So we'll see if they fix that.
I understand them fighting people getting refunds on games that they end up not liking. I think it's bullshit, but I understand why they would fight against that.
Sure.
Again, still bullshit.
Right.
I don't understand why you're not going to let people refund a pre-order.
Yeah, I don't get
It's
that.
a pre-order.
You haven't
They
gotten the
didn't
product
get
yet.
anything. Yeah, they just said, "Hey, I changed my mind."
Yeah. Well, how dare you change your mind?
Like, I like to imagine Nintendo's like, "We already spent the money. Can't give it back." No, sorry. We all went out and bought new ties. Can't. That's ours now. Give you a tie for it, you know.
For some reason, I thought you were going to say tires.
Yeah, you got new tires.
Just Nintendo is sitting there with just a giant stack of tires.
It's for our cars.
We're going to use these later.
A mountain of them. 8BitDo announces and then immediately releases a new USB adapter that supports Bluetooth LE and the new controllers. The Series X controller is nice. Right. I assume the PS5 controller.
I believe the old one already supported the PS5 controller.
Well, it did not support the Series X controller.
Right,
so.
yeah, because the Xbox controllers used Bluetooth LE. Whereas I think the PlayStation ones were just regular Bluetooth. I could be wrong there. But
so this came out. I immediately bought it. This is one of those things that, like, it's not super sexy and exciting to purchase, but it's so useful in my life.
Right.
I move my controllers around a lot between computers and stuff, and just having an Xbox controller permanently paired to one of these means that I never have to do Bluetooth repairing or any of that crap, and it just works on everything. I go on my Steam links, I put it on my Switch, I put it on my PC.
It doesn't work on everything. You can't plug it in your Xbox.
True, but pairing on an Xbox is already easy because I just push the button on the outside and then I do the thing. It's I don't mind how difficult it is specifically there, although it is bullshit that more controllers don't work with the Xbox, and it still is my biggest gripe with Xbox as a platform is their poor controller compatibility.
Which is weird because they have the big accessibility controller.
I know. It makes no sense.
Yeah.
But I'm excited for it. I'm glad 8BitDo is still doing stuff, releasing stuff, doing little adapters and things.
Did you end up getting the SN30 Pro 2?
I did not, because by the time they announced it, I had switched kind of full time from my SN30 Pro Plus to the Series X controller. So I didn't bother because I wasn't using that controller.
I keep looking at it because it has the extra triggers, but
which let me tell you, you think you'll never use them. Mm-hmm. But if they're hot mappable, like you can map them while you're playing, you'll use them way more than you think you will. It's really great in games where you're skipping a lot of dialogue, which isn't you.
Or something.
It's like Pokemon. It's great where it's like every battle I get in, at the end of the battle, it's like 45 dialogue boxes, and I have my A button mapped to the on my Switch on my Split Pad Pro mapped to the back of the controller, and I turbo it. Right. So I just hold that down anytime I finish a battle in Pokemon, and it just fires through all the menus real fast. Yeah. Just little tedious things like that. It's nice. There's always parts in games where you're tediously pressing a button over and over and over, and it removes that fatigue very quickly and conveniently. Right. I like that a lot.
That's fair.
Indie studio Ward B says gun manufacturer Kalashnikov has copied their originally designed guns and then licensed the copies to another game.
I don't know enough about guns or their copyrights or anything to really have any commentary here. Mm-hmm. But reading through what this indie studio is saying and alleging, they seem to know way more than I do. First of all, and they went into extreme depth. They are clearly people who really love gun design.
Yeah.
And from what all they have laid out, it seems like they have a pretty solid case. So it does seem like an odd move for a gun manufacturer to do.
It's weird, right? Like what? I can't even imagine what they were thinking.
Right.
Now, granted, like usually when you have people in a game studio designing guns for game, because guns have to be changed to go into a game, right?
Unless it is licensed.
Well, no, I mean just even licensed guns, they change dramatically to put in games. Just little things like where the shell ejection port is, which side the little slide pulley thing is on, because in most games the gun is going to be kind of held right-handed and on the right side of your thing. And normally, like a good example is the shell ejection port. You shoot a gun and the little shell pops out of the gun, right?
Okay.
In games, it's the shell ejection port is always I think it's like on the left side And in real life, they never do that because then it's like shooting a shell like toward you know.
Oh.
It's always supposed to go away from you. They don't want you to get hit with a hot shell.
But how else are
know?
you supposed to see it on screen, though?
Exactly. So they move all these things around and stuff. So the people that put design guns, even like if you're just like, oh, we're just putting a handgun in the game, there's still a lot of considerations in design that go into putting that gun into a game. You know, things like, how does this work? Why does this look, you know, because the first person perspective is limiting, you know.
Yeah, I think I've played Raiders of the Lost Ark on Atari a lot of times, and I've not noticed any changes on the gun on that.
Interesting. Well, see, in real life, it's a brown square, and they made a dark brown square in that game.
It's yellow. Thank you.
I have no idea.
And it's vaguely gun-shaped in your inventory. I mean, when he's using it, it's invisible. But
so all this to say that the people designing guns in video games, I watched like a whole bunch of videos on it. Like a video popped up in my YouTube feed that's like, gun expert talks about guns in video games. And he went into like all this crazy depth.
Huh.
And he's like, this is what they changed, and here's why. Because in the first-person perspective of a game, you wouldn't see it, or it wouldn't make sense, or, you know.
What about games that are not first-person, like Resident Evil and stuff?
That
like
I don't know. I'd be interested. I'll send you the video. Like, I know you don't really give a shit about guns, but it's really interesting just from a game design perspective to see him, like, look at it and be like, hey, these are all the ways they changed this gun, and here's why I think they did it.
Huh.
And then it's kind of one of those, like, things like if you ever had a movie buff friend that like teaches you the Wilhelm scream and you're like, oh yeah, you know. It's real super. If you it's I think GameSpot does it, and it's this guy in the UK, he's like a gun expert. And they do these they're like shitty clickbaity videos. They're like, gun expert reacts to the guns in Team Fortress 2, you know. But it's really interesting just to hear him talk about game design and guns and how they intersect.
Patent the term reacts?
I think like the Fine Brothers tried to patent that.
Yeah,
you know.
Like that.
But yeah, it's really interesting. I'd never thought about it either because I play a lot of games with guns in them.
Yeah.
And
I play less games with guns with them.
Never occurred, and I've been around guns in real life, and none of these things, these really obvious things, have never occurred to me. Ubisoft will offer playable and energy-efficient, non-fungible tokens called digits in upcoming games.
That sounds fun. That's so fun.
If for some reason the rampant sexual assault and lack of changes in leadership at Ubisoft hadn't turned you off, or the constant iterative open-world sandbox design being driven into the ground hasn't pushed you away, then now you can purchase NFTs that are locked into a specific ecosystem, thus defeating the whole purpose of an NFT. Does it not? Like,
for the only thing I will give Ubisoft any credit on is that they do seem to be pushing the envelope when it comes to accessibility in games. Other than that, no, I'm not going to buy their stuff.
This is, and I'll say this because I've been listening to a lot of stuff about NFTs just because there's a lot of stuff going on there.
Okay.
It's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming, and it's going to be in everything. It's going to be everywhere. So get ready, 2022. I guarantee you by like June 2022, the media is going to be like the year of the NFT. Just fucking get ready. It's everywhere. There are already massive NFT based mobile games with hundreds of thousands of players. So prepare yourself. Masayuki Uemura, creator of the Famicom and Super Famicom, has passed away at the age of 78.
That's sad.
Individual that does not get talked about much.
Right, yeah. It was kind of a forgotten member of the old school Nintendo design team until fairly recently. I think it might have been one of the guys who just didn't get the credit he deserved for a while there.
Yeah. And you see that.
Nintendo was pretty secretive for a while there about who did what on what projects. So
yeah, I also noticed, and I don't know if he was like this at all or not, but I noticed with a lot of these older guys that worked on early video game stuff, you talk to them about it, and you're like, man, what a legendary thing you did and worked on, and they're like, yeah, it was my job.
Yeah,
and you're like, no, you understand, like you've influenced a generation. They're like, yeah, that's what they paid me to do. Make the Nintendo. And you're like, what? Like, they, I guess just their whole life didn't revolve around video games after that necessarily. And so it was just another thing they did to them, you know. For them, it was just a Tuesday.
Poor Raul Julia. What a way to go out.
I was organizing my Blu-rays the other day, and I was like, do I really need my Street Fighter Extreme Edition Blu-ray on my front Blu-ray shelf?
I can't believe you spent money on that.
Oh, man, I'm glad I did. It was bad.
Hadn't you not seen that before we did that episode?
No, I'd seen it. It'd just been like years.
And you still bought it, huh?
Oh, yeah. No, I knew what I was buying. Let's talk.
But this time you got to notice Sawada.
Yeah, I did notice Sawada. And I also noticed our topic this week, which is holiday memories. I think we've done an episode or maybe episodes similar to this before where we just kind of talked about holiday gaming, holiday stuff, but it's the holidays. Well, probably not for you listening.
It is post-holidays for you listening.
Post-holiday
probably.
For you. Exactly. What day does this go up? It's going to go up.
I believe January 3rd.
Oof. Well, yeah. I hope you enjoyed your holidays. And we're going to talk about our upcoming memories and just things around the holiday, video game related general memories is really all we're going for here. We just wanted something light and breezy for our fifth show in 3 weeks. Yeah. And so that's what it is. That's what you got. Yeah.
Something that's at least somewhat relevant as far as time goes, and also just something we can enjoy.
I feel like you always miss the boat. We always want to do like a holiday episode, and finally this year we're like, we're going to do it. We're going to do a holiday episode, and it comes out on January 3rd.
Well, we could have scheduled that better, but why?
But we did not. Well, I do want to start with just kind of in general, what was the winter holiday season like in your house to kind of for like a framing reference?
Mostly fire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's good. That's
no, we like when I think childhood, I think the 80s, maybe the very early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a tree. It was an artificial tree that we would put up every year. Usually just after Thanksgiving or around that time frame, we would put it up, and then our cat would try to destroy it, and then we would give up on there being ornaments, and it would just be the dead tree there with the cat having one. No, we would. The big thing that we would do that I have the most fond memories of is in the week or 2 weeks before Christmas. My dad would take me and my brother and sister to the mall and would give us like $20 or $25 and say, go buy gifts for your siblings and your mom and your dad, and if there's anybody else you want to get a gift for, get it with whatever's left over. Right. And then we'll all meet up and we'll go home and wrap stuff. And we would just, break into groups, and we would go to the dumbest, stupidest stores and just buy. I remember one year I bought my dad boob earmuffs at Spencer's. And he thought it was the greatest thing he'd ever gotten in his life. And we were going to his mother's house for Christmas. Yeah. And he was going to wear them. And my mom looked at him and said, if you wear those to your mother's house, she will never let me or your children in there ever again. And so he had to leave them at home. But the boob muffs did come back out every holiday for years. Yeah. And anytime we'd go to my mom's parents' house for Christmas, he would wear the boob muffs there because nobody had any shame there. It was a much more down-to-earth family.
There you go. They were fine with boob muffs.
Yeah, they were totally chill with the boob muffs. But no, that was the big thing that we would do. And then for as far as Christmas itself goes, we would just kind of have a pretty low-key ceremony for the immediate family in the morning, and then waste some time and then go to one or the other grandparents' house that evening, where if we went to my dad's parents' house, we'd get good gifts. And if we went to my mom's parents' house, we would have more fun.
There's always the good gift grandparents, right? The ones where you're like, yeah.
Because my dad's parents had more money, so they would provide the good gifts. But my mom's parents were like more reasonable human beings, so we would have more fun there. But they didn't have a whole lot of money, so we wouldn't get anything fancy. Yeah. But we did have good times and good food and all that. But
That's good.
And then the other thing that I always think about with the holidays is my birthday comes very close to Christmas, so every year I would inevitably be told we can't afford anything sizable for both your birthday and Christmas. So pick one or the other that you want a good present for. The other one will find something.
Yeah.
And so it always just kind of merged together. And often it would be like, well, this is your combined birthday Christmas present.
You know, your birthday is not that close to Christmas.
It's within a couple of weeks.
Isn't your birthday in November?
My birthday is in 2 days.
Oh, wow. Happy birthday, Saturn!
Yay!
Yay! Woo! I don't know why I thought your birthday already happened and it was in November.
No.
Everyone else's birthday is in November, so I just assumed
That's
yours
true.
was too.
Yeah, a lot of people are.
Well, that sucks. My dad's birthday is the day after Christmas.
Oh.
And growing up, it was my best friend's birthday, and my best friend was named Chad, and so I always remembered their birthdays. It was Chad and Dad, day after Christmas. And that's how I remembered.
My brother, or my sister's first husband, his birthday was the 21st. So 4 days before Christmas. And so he had it worse than I did, but he also didn't really care at all. He was not a gift person. And anytime you gave him a gift, he'd be like, thanks.
My house was a little different. Growing up, we went to the two grandparents. And we had a third set of grandparents. My brother my brother's my half brother. I've said it on the show before, and he has a extra set of grandparents. But my dad was still his dad and raised him, and he just had this extra dad that sometimes he saw every 3 or 4 months. Right. And so we would also go to my aunt's house, or it was my mom's cousin. I think I just called her my aunt. I think she's technically my mom's cousin, because my mom doesn't have a sister. And so we would go to that Christmas. We had the 3 grandparents, and then we had ours at home. So it's like 5-6 Christmases.
Damn, that's a lot of Christmases.
And it was a lot, yeah. And my dad's side of the family was always the fun Christmas, and my mom's side of the family was always the good Christmas.
Yeah.
Because my mom's mom would just be like, what do they want? All right, I'm going to get them that. Because there were not a lot of kids on that side of the family. Like it always felt weird on that side of the family, because we'd show up and it's like me and my brother and my one cousin, and we're the only children. So it's a very... Do what?
See, both sides of my family, my mom's side and my dad's side, they each had one sibling that had kids. And my parents had 3 kids, and their siblings had 3 kids.
Yeah.
So it would always be me and the 3 cousins on that side, or me and the 3 cousins on the other side. I technically have other cousins. I have a lot more cousins on my mom's side, but I never saw them ever until I was 18. And then suddenly my dad's like, oh, you remember like when your cousin Tracy came over? No, I never saw her until I was 18.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you remember that one time when you were real little? No, I wasn't alive yet then. So it was very strange on that side.
Yeah. My other complication was that my dad's parents were many, many years divorced. And so my dad's side was 2 Christmases. Yeah. And my mom's side of the family was also divorced. My grandparents on that side. But we didn't go to the other side, my mother's dad's side of the family, because I didn't meet that man until I was 15 years old, 16 years old. Right. But that meant we had extra family by way of marriage, because my grandmother remarried. And so it wasn't ever 2 Christmases over there, but sometimes it'd be people that I didn't know from a family that was married in that I was unaware of.
Right.
So it was just a bunch of Christmases. My dad's side of the family had some more kids, so it was fun going over there. But it was never a lot of money, and it was always like, hey, what'd you get? Well, I got a sweater. Just get, as an adult with a child now, I'm like, sweater's a good gift. That's a good gift, But
I'll take some fucking socks. Come on.
But when you're like 7,
I
you're like, oh no, I wanted a fucking Megazord.
Whenever we would go to my mom's parents, who didn't have a ton of money, instead of gifts, they by the time I was like 10 or 12. They explicitly told us, don't bring gifts. Don't bring gifts for anyone. You'll make people feel bad because they can't get gifts for everyone else.
Right.
So instead...
Which I love that.
Right. Instead, it'd be like bring $1 scratch off lottery ticket for every person you're bringing with you.
Mm-hmm.
So there was 5 of us, so we would bring 5 scratch offs. And we'd get there, and they had a big fish bowl, and everybody would throw all their scratch-offs in the fish bowl. And at the end of the day, instead of us giving out gifts, we would pass the fish bowl around, and everybody would take a scratch-off out of it, and we would just scratch it off and see if we won anything. And sometimes people won some money, and sometimes nobody won anything, and we were all just bitter at each other.
Yeah.
But, it was a different thing anyway.
When I was in 2nd grade, my parents got divorced.
Yeah.
And so then there's 2 more Christmases. And now it's competing.
Exhausting.
It's competing Christmases because one parent wants to have the better Christmas than the other parent.
Right.
Because my parents didn't have a kind divorce.
Oh, no.
It was not. I mean, I don't think any divorce is like super congenial. Someone's always going to be at least a little upset, probably. But it was bad. And so I grew up kind of hating the holiday season. Because it meant I just had to go to tons of places.
Right.
And I only really cared about the one Christmas where I got the good gifts, And as a kid, I'm just getting drug all over the place. I mean, by the time I'm 10, I'm going to like between 5 and 8 Christmases a year. And Thanksgiving's no better.
Right.
And so my memories are a little more diffuse and difficult to nail down. And I do kind of want to start with well, I guess, I'll let you start with the 80s because I have no memories from the 80s because the 80s ended when I was 2. So I'll let you go ahead with your 80s and then I'll jump into my 90s memories and we'll do the 90s. We're just going chronologically here.
So one thing I always remember is whenever we would go to my mom's parents' house, they had an Atari and a Commodore because my uncle made Commodore software and they just enjoyed the Atari. Right. So we would go over there and usually we would just play Atari with my cousins, and of course this was before the NES was really at least widely available anyway.
Yeah.
And my cousin would just make up lyrics to the song from Donkey Kong or Frogger or whatever, and just dumb kid stuff, but it was fun. We enjoyed it. So that's probably my absolute earliest video game based holiday memory is sitting around playing Frogger or Pac-Man or whatever on Atari. But as far as any kind of gifts go, I remember one year for Thanksgiving, we went to my dad's side of the family, and my cousins had the NES, and we happened to go over to their house for some reason, and I saw the NES, and I was like, oh, this is insane. This is amazing.
This is better. This is better than the Atari,
right? And I just remember, I'm sure I absolutely pestered my parents about when can we get that thing.
Yeah.
And of course we couldn't. It was way too expensive. Right. So the next year at Christmas, we went to my dad's parents for Christmas, and my aunt and uncle, my dad's younger brother and older sister, went in together to buy us an NES, the one that came with Mario Duck Hunt and the Zapper. And I looked it up, and the Mario Duck Hunt cartridge was released in '88. So that tells me that's when we got our NES. So
year I was born.
Yeah. So, and I was so excited, but it was technically a gift to me and my siblings. It was to all three of us.
So it was 3 Christmases and a birthday all rolled into one.
Yes. And so it was our combined gift. And I was the most excited. My sister was not really interested at all. My brother was mildly excited. We get it home. My dad hooks it up, and it's already like 10 or 11 p.m. at this point, and I'm like 6 years old.
Yeah.
So my parents are like, "All right, time to go to bed." And I'm like, "But it just got hooked up." And they're like, "No, time to go to bed."
Yeah.
But it's right there.
Don't matter.
Let's go to bed now. And I remember like I kept trying to sneak up to go like quote use the restroom or get some water.
Right. Get a water, yeah.
And I'd see my dad in there playing Mario, and I was like, oh, he's right there. He's playing it. And I was so jealous. But no, we did get to play it eventually, obviously. And then I guess it would be the next year for my birthday is when I got Mario 2, because that's when that was available. And man, I played the shit out of that too. But But yeah, those as far as the 80s go, that's the big things I remember was playing
it
Atari
occurs to me,
and then getting the NES.
Because I don't have a lot of childhood video game holiday memories. We didn't get a lot in the way of video games for Christmas. My parents didn't like buying us video games.
Right.
They'd prefer to buy us other stuff rather than video games, because my brother was an obsessive. And video games were a problem in my house. It was damaging school. It was damaging his relationships, his attitudes. He'd wake up. You could tell every now and then he'd be sitting at the breakfast table and you'd look over and he would just look hungover as fuck. You'd be like, "Oh shit, dude, what'd you like? Drink a quart of whiskey? What happened?" And my mom
Ninja Gaiden all night.
My mom would walk in the room and she would immediately know. She'd go, "You played Zelda all night, didn't you?" And he, "No," like asleep in his cereal, you know?
Yeah, my parents were pretty strict about cutting off. This is the absolute latest in the evening you're allowed to play a video game.
Well, his was in his bedroom.
Yeah, even when it was in our bedroom, if like they would frequently like open the door and be like, "That TV's not fucking on, is it?"
Oh, she checked, but it was like if you tried every night, like eventually,
right?
You know, my brother was disciplined in his not listening to people. He would make himself stay awake until he knew everyone else was asleep, and then do it. Like he was sneaky with it.
I was so terrified of punishment from a very young age that I did not even attempt.
Yeah. And the NES was my brother's. Growing up, I know it was his present. He's pretty close to your age.
Right.
So I suspect he probably got it around the same time frame. Yeah. But I will say, I do remember one year we got a Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
And I vividly remember swearing up and down to my mom, like, "We want a Super Nintendo. We're going to never need another game console again," right? Because what could be better? It's the Super. It's a Nintendo, but it's Super.
Yeah, They're never gonna have a hard time believing there's going to be anything better than the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, it hasn't happened yet.
It's been 30 fucking years. Come on, guys.
And I remember my mom being like, "If I get that, I'm never buying you video games again for Christmas. That's your video game Christmas. You're not getting any more video games."
Right, because that's how it works. You get the one video game and it's good forever.
Right? It's like a fridge, right? And I want to say that had to have been 1993 or so, maybe a little earlier.
Yeah.
And I rewatched, because we just did our 1994 episode, and I should have done this for that episode. Well, I did. I watched my Christmas 1994 tape, but I didn't listen to everything. I watched what I was opening.
Yeah.
I watched it again for this episode because I was trying to dredge up 90s holiday memories.
Yeah.
And I listened to what my brother was opening. Because I looked, every present I opened, I got rollerblades and I got Power Rangers. That was it. Everything for my birthday. I got a watch. It was a Power Ranger watch. You know, I got like pajamas. It was Power Ranger pajamas. And then Power
Rangers fan at the time.
Yeah, no, I liked Power Rangers. I had just come off of a big Batman fandom, and then Batman Returns came out, and Danny DeVito scared me so fucking bad that my mom had to paint over like all the Batman stuff in my house, in my room, and like get rid of all my Batman curtains and bed sheets because it was making me cry.
I love that movie so much.
And then I went, it still scares me. I'm an adult and it still scares. She's like, she took me to the theater. And in my head, I'm like, did you not see the fucking marketing, mother? What were you thinking? You know?
I made my dad take me to see Batman Returns so many times at the Dollar Theater.
Oh, man. In my head, I'm like, when did the Batman animated series run? Was that 90?
It was right around the same time as Batman.
Was it? Because I was going to say, was it? I was trying to figure out like what Batman I was watching, and had to have been the animated series.
Started right after Batman Returns came out.
Yeah, I feel like it started in 92, 93, and then ran through like 95, 96. I don't remember now. Anyway, but I'm like on the animated series, and I'm like, did you not see the posters for this movie, Mom? Like, look at the shit. It's fucking scary. You saw the first Tim Burton Batman. What did you think it was going to be?
Also, Catwoman was very sexualized in that movie.
Yes. Yes. I remember that. Anyway. So I watched it.
95 is when the series ran.
And I watched it real close. And in my room is a Super Nintendo connected to the TV. In my brother's room is an NES connected to the TV. And I'm hearing him open games.
Yeah.
And he opens, I want to say, Magical Quest starring Mickey Mouse.
Nice.
And then he opens a couple of NES games. And then I hear him go, all right, Fester's Quest. And he's like, Justin, look, Fester's Quest.
It's the most excited any human being has ever been to get Fester's Quest.
And we played the fucking shit out of Fester's Quest. Couldn't get anywhere in it because it's impossible, but we played it a lot. I mean, you know how it was back in those days. You'd put 100 hours into a game that you fucking hated because you're like, I got it, I guess.
The one you have, yeah. That's why I played so much fucking Hide.
God. And so really, like so I know we got video games for Christmas. I feel like I remember getting Mega Man X for Christmas. But for the most part, video games were a birthday thing in my house for some reason. 94 was also the year we got rollerblades and a VCR. That was our big Christmas, was rollerblades and a VCR, but we had video games. By the time the N64 rolled around in the 90s, I mowed lawns for it.
Was there not a VCR in your house prior to that?
I guess not, because he was very excited to get a VCR. Huh. And I opened a tape. I opened Fievel Goes West. And he was like, oh man, I know what our big gift is now. And so in my head, I'm like, well, if he's saying that would imply that he knows that we're getting a VCR, which would imply we don't have one. Because if we had one in the living room, he wouldn't be like, oh, you opened a tape, I know we're getting a VCR.
Right.
It wouldn't make sense. You know, I'd open it and he'd be like, oh, I guess he's going to watch it in the living room, like, theoretically. Yeah. So I don't know. It's weird, right? 94 is way fucking late to not have a VCR.
Pretty late for VCR. Maybe like your VCR had broken and it was out for a while or something.
That's very maybe, because I do remember we had a lot of VCRs growing up because my dad would give me old busted ones to play with in the backyard. Anyway, so by the time the N64 rolled around, I mowed lawns for a summer to pay for that. I was basically unaware of the PlayStation until like 98.
That's a few years into the PS1.
You know, I was playing Game Boy, tons and tons of Game Boy stuff. Yeah. My brother we talked about it. My brother got a Dreamcast for Christmas, but that was 99. Yeah. And so, yeah, the 90s for me were just not, if it was video games, it was on a birthday. Yeah. Other than that, not a lot of video games in the holidays. And my extended family, grandparents and stuff, never got us video games. I never remember receiving any video games from them ever.
Yeah, go ahead.
Growing up, I do remember my dad's mom. Mm-hmm. When we went to her house, she had video games. She had an NES hooked up.
Nice.
And on that NES, I remember the games that she had. It was Bubble Bobble,
nice,
Metal Gear, and Life Force.
That's a weird selection, but they're all good games. But all games
2.5 good games.
All games that have good versions somewhere.
And then next to it was a Windows 3.1 machine that she had until the turn of the millennium, at least. Yep. I remember being a teenager before that machine went away, and it had Chips Challenge.
Nice.
And so we'd sit at her place playing Life Force, Bubble Bobble, Metal Gear, and Chips Challenge.
That sounds very similar to my mom's parents' house, only theirs was just older versions of that because they had the Atari, and then the Commodore 64 was their only computer until 2002.
Yeah.
It's similar to that.
I want to say that I got my original Xbox for Christmas. I want to say that. It might have been a birthday though. I really don't remember. So it's really hard to say. My birthday gifts, my big birthday gifts, I remember rollerblades 1994. When I turned 12, I got a shotgun.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. Texas, right?
I never got any of that.
No, yeah, I got a 410 breakaway shotgun. Ooh. And then my mom's boyfriend took me hunting with it, and I shot a bird, and I've never felt so bad in my life.
Yeah, my older brother got a BB gun when he turned 12 or so.
I had a BB gun, and I think I got it, I think it was around 10 or 11 when I got it. So this was just after my BB gun phase.
And I guess I just never showed any interest in it at all, so my parents didn't bother.
Yeah.
My parents were pretty happy to get us games over toys because my brother and I, because we had to share a room for many years there until I was at least 10, so he would have been 14 and probably really pissed off to still be sharing a room.
Yeah.
And I think it might have been even beyond that because it wasn't until my sister moved out. So, yeah, we had to share a room for an awkwardly long period of time. and neither one of us liked to clean shit in that room.
Yeah.
So if we had been playing with our toys, they remained there, and then we would just get different toys and set them up somewhere else. And my parents, neither one of them were very good at enforcing cleaning because they also didn't clean anything. And they are now hoarders, and their house is terrifying. And growing up, I can see that in my own bedroom was the hoarder room. It was just the entire floor was blanketed in toys, and there'd be like a little tiny path to our beds. And so they didn't mind getting us games instead of toys because it was much harder to make a giant mess out of games because they just stayed in the one place next to the TV.
Right. Growing up, my parents were always pushing for us to go outside. They were like, go play outside. Just get out of the house, go away.
Yeah, that was my brother's thing. He was always out of the house.
Especially if my dad was home. He'd be like, get the hell out of here. Do not come back if you are thirsty. I remember my dad going, if you're thirsty, drink from the hose. Just get the fuck out of this building, and if you need sustenance, forage for berries and drink out of the hose. Get out.
Right.
So he was real big on that. I remember when I was a kid, if I was bored, my dad would give me a shovel and say, go dig a ditch then. And then he would tell me these, I think I told this story on the air maybe. And then he'd go, when I was a kid, we would dig a ditch so deep and so big that we could put chairs down in it and have a little clubhouse. And as an adult, that's bullshit.
Right.
As a child, I was like, I want a clubhouse. And then I would just start digging till I wore myself out, thus accomplishing the goal my dad had set out for me.
Yeah, when I was really, really young, I remember my parents always trying to push us to be outside all the time. And my brother was an outside person. He was always outside. If he could be outside, he would be out there.
Oh, I didn't like it at all, but I was there.
But eventually my parents realized that if I also went outside when my older brother was out there, him and his friends would find a way to injure me.
And as they do.
And so they realized that I couldn't go outside while my brother and his friends were out there. So they're like, well, you just stay inside. The big kids will go outside. Yeah. And so I very much remained an inside person forever.
Let's talk post-2000, post-millennium.
No, I didn't go through the 90s.
Oh, you haven't done the 90s yet?
No.
Well, what do you got from the 90s?
A Super Nintendo.
Oh, yeah, I remember you said you got it. 91.
I owned a Super Nintendo at one point in my life. That's true. No, it was my big birthday present because, again, I couldn't have a big present for birthday and Christmas. So it was the big present that year. And so they decided to give it to me on my birthday. And for some reason, I was very upset that year because no one had asked me, no one had implied to me at all that we were doing anything for my birthday. So I thought that like everybody had forgotten and it was an ignored day, and I was very upset, and I was trying to find a place to hide, but I lived with 6 other people in a 3-bedroom home. So there was nowhere to hide. So I went into the laundry room, which was connected to our living room, dining room area. And I just closed the door and sat on top of the washer with a book and was just like, I'll just ignore them because they all forgot about me. So I'm just sitting there where I can hear everything in the living room. And I'm sure anybody could have found me at any second just moping, while my dad comes into the room and is like, oh, good, he's gone. Let's hook up the thing. And they hook up the Super Nintendo. And I'm sitting there where I can see through a crack in the door and hear all of this. And I'm like, how do I get out there where the Super Nintendo is without letting them know where I was hiding?
Yeah.
And so I'm just sitting there for an awkwardly long amount of time. And they're like, well, where is he? I know he doesn't go outside. Somebody try to find him. And then finally, the split second that nobody was in the room, I like jump out of there and just wait for people to come back in the room. They're like, where were you? I was like, around. But no, so that's
just hanging out in the rafters, kid stuff.
So I got the Super Nintendo then. Very exciting. I made my dad drive me to the Target a couple of towns over, like every weekend for a month, for all of November, just so I could play the Super Nintendo before it came out. And then for Christmas, I'm looking through all my gifts, and it's a bunch of obviously pajamas, socks, the generic stuff that you get that
Right.
you're not excited about as a kid. And then there's one box that's shaped like a Super Nintendo game. I'm like, oh boy, another game. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, is it F-Zero? Is it Pilot Wings? And I open it up and it's Chessmaster 2000.
They just want to enrich your mind, Saturn.
Right.
That's all they want.
I did play a lot of Chessmaster 2000 because it was the other game I had. But as a kid, it's not the one you're excited about.
Yeah.
But no, after that, mostly my parents got sick of having to hide stuff until the holidays. So like the N64 came out in September, and the day it came out, my dad's like, well, you can go without getting a present this year for your birthday or Christmas if I give you the N64 now, right? I'm like, yes, I can do that. And he just hands it to me. He's like, you're old enough. You hook this up.
Yeah.
And then he didn't get a game with it. He just assumed there was a game in the box because there had been with the NES and Super NES.
Yeah.
And there was not a game in the box. And I was like,
oh no.
Well, what do we do with it now? He's like, do your old games fit in it? No. And
well, that's a rip-off. What a rip-off. It's not even Super.
And the weird thing is my dad played Nintendo and Super Nintendo games. I don't know how he didn't know that they wouldn't anyway.
But your dad just assumed they would make consumer-first decisions.
Right.
Which they will not.
No, ever. And this was also pretty much the exact time both of my parents decided they were no longer playing video games. It was when the N64 came out. They saw that controller and they're like, well, I'm done. It's beyond my skill.
Too much.
But no, we
you just tell them they only have to use 2/3 of it.
Right.
Simplifies it.
Yeah. So yeah, we went to Walmart and picked up Mario 64. Actually, before that, in '94, I remember for my birthday, my mom picks me up from school, and she says, "Well, I'm gonna level with you. We haven't bought you anything for your birthday or Christmas yet. We have no idea what you want."
Yeah. I remember those talks where they're like,
right?
just tell me what you want because I can't figure you out anymore.
My mom was like, it's your birthday today. So how about we just go to Walmart and you just pick out a thing you want. And we get there and they had Final Fantasy VI, which had just come out.
So you bought lawn darts.
Lawn darts. Oh, yeah. And I was like, well, can I get that? And she was like, well, that's the most expensive game that they have. So that's also your Christmas present now. I'm like, okay, it's Final Fantasy. I needs it. But no, that's the only ones I can specifically remember being holiday in the 90s. The rest of it was just kind of, if we get this applies towards all your gifts for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And then I would just get a console in August.
I do remember, I feel like, because I say I didn't get video games from people for things, usually it'd be like I work for it and get allowance and save up.
Right.
But my mom would always get me handhelds. But they were almost always birthday stuff. Because she would tell my brother no video games for Christmas. But then it wouldn't really be fair to get me that stuff. But his grandparents would get him video games for Christmas.
Right.
So I think that might have been why that dichotomy existed, where I remember like I got a Game Boy Pocket and Zelda for my birthday. I got them together. Link's Awakening, my clear Game Boy Pocket, and man, oh, that was amazing. And so that was kind of her way of being like, hey, we can't afford to buy you a PlayStation 2 or an N64 or whatever, but it's your birthday. Here's a Game Boy Color. Here's a Game Boy Pocket. Here's a whatever.
Yeah.
And so that's where a lot of my memories are. After the PS2, GameCube, Xbox generation, it was like, no, you don't need it. We got our house is packed full of video games. You don't need video games.
I remember the morning that the PS2 came out, and my friend told me, hey, there's some at Sears that I work at, and if we go camp out, we get one. I had woken up early. And I didn't know about it until like late the night before that morning. And I go and I bug my parents. I'm like, hey, can I go get a PS2 right now and consider it my Christmas present? And my mom's like, what on earth makes you think we have the money for a PS2? And I'm like,
yeah,
but if I go right now, I get one.
Yeah.
And my dad says, will you give me your next paycheck to pay me back for it? And I'm like, yes. And so then he just wrote me out a check for $300, like, go to the bank and cash this.
Yeah.
And that was the closest to any more gaming gifts that I got from that point forward.
I got a Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
Game Boy Advance and GameCube were the last ones that I remember my mom getting me. Yeah. Game Boy Advance, I don't remember. I feel like it was a birthday. Game Boys were always birthday stuff for me. But GameCube, one day it was just in the middle of the summer, and I was just going on about the GameCube. I was just talking about it. And we had an above-ground pool at the time.
Yeah.
And she was like sitting in the pool, and I'm just on the edge of the pool just doing the kid thing, just talking nonstop, just like, and then they got this game called Pikmin, and you have these little guys, and they got flowers on their head, and you throw them around. There's Luigi there, and it's not Mario, and he's Luigi, and he runs around, and he's in a mansion. And she's just like, she goes, do you want one? And I go, yeah. And she goes, let's go get one. And I was like, but you said no more video games. She was like, I don't care. Get your clothes on. And she's like, I don't know what that is not my mother. That's not. It was just out of nowhere.
Right.
And then after that, it was like, even my DS, I traded in all my GBA stuff for it. I remember doing that. The next big, because I mean, from there on, I had a job, like that was 2000. By 2006, I was a teenager. I worked at GameStop. And so I just spent.
I had already served my time working at a game store by 2006.
The Wii launch, which came out holiday 06 for people that don't remember. It was a dark time for video game retail.
Yeah, right.
It was bad. The Wii, the stores just shipped out. Like Nintendo was just like, here's a Wii for Ohio. And they're like, where is it? Like people were going to kill each other for these Wiis. I got mine at launch night at GameStop. I was working it. And that holiday, I remember so well because growing up, I didn't have like groups of friends I played games with. Games are like a thing I did by myself, or my one or two other friends, and like that was it. And the Wii, though, all of a sudden I had a Wii, and other teenagers were coming to my house to play the Wii, and for like 2 months, it was like a party. I mean, for that holiday season, people were just at my house playing Red Steel for hours a day. Every single day, it was like, hey, I'm off work. We're going to my house to play Excite Trucks. We're going to my house to play Red Steel. There weren't good Wii games at launch. People that don't remember, it was Wii Sports and then Excite Trucks and Red Steel. Like
I just played Wii Sports. That's all I played on it for months.
We
that
played
Virtual Console,
and that was a wonderful holiday season. I loved that holiday season. Christmas 2010. I'm out of high school,
right? And
for whatever reason, because of how busy my Decembers were with so many Christmases, I didn't even play a lot of games in the holidays. I don't have a lot of people are like, every holiday I play Super Metroid. Like they've got these like holiday
by 2010,
games.
I knew you.
Yeah, by 2010 you knew me. Yeah. and that I remember one year I bought Valkyria Chronicles 2.
Yeah.
And that the 2010 Christmas season 2010 was Valkyria Chronicles 2 for me. I played it incessantly. I don't remember what I had going on. I think I was living back at home. I had moved back home because I moved out with my girlfriend and we broke up, and I'd come back home, and it just wasn't a great time for me.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, that game was like making me feel better in the holidays because it was not great. And I was like, man, and I'm back at home, so I've got a million Christmases to go to, and it was not a fun time, And really my next big one is all the way up to Christmas 2012, which for people listening to this in the future in 2022, that's a decade ago.
Yeah.
So just, come to terms with that. I'll give you a minute while you just feel your
it's
life.
9 years ago when we post this.
When we post the uncut. Uncut listeners, you're not old yet. Regular listeners,
even then, Christmas of 2012 will still have been 9 years ago when we post this.
True.
Yeah.
So my wife, at this point, it had been, when you're an adult, and I don't want to use the G word, but when you're an adult and you're a gamer,
right, people
don't buy you video games.
No, because they assume you'll get the ones that you want.
Yeah, they don't know what the fuck you have. They're like, I don't even know what I would buy him, especially when you're not just those people that are like, I play every Madden. Oh, do you have the new Madden? No. All right, I'll get you it for your birthday, right?
Right.
people didn't buy me games. Nobody bought me games.
No.
You know, and my wife, out of nowhere, and it had been years since anyone had bought me any video game, anything.
Right.
And out of nowhere, she went out and found a Wii U, which I promise they were hard to find when they first came out. For a little while, they were hard to find. I know everyone's like, okay, well, so you just walked into any store in America and bought it for cheap, right?
Right.
And she got me a Wii U, and that was like the first game console I remember receiving as a gift for Christmas ever, because I barely remember getting the Super Nintendo, and I could even be misremembering it. I the rest of them, I don't remember getting them at Christmas, but Christmas 2012 was the Wii U, and it was like, man, it was such a cool feeling to get a video game console for Christmas, like on Christmas Day, getting to open it up and be like, look, it's the new thing.
Right.
It was so great. I loved it.
You know, one that I forgot that I did receive as a gift was Street Fighter 2 on Super NES.
Mm-hmm.
Way back. It must have been 92, 93, whenever that game came out.
Yeah.
And my aunt had asked my parents what I wanted, because she had just gotten a nice job as a lawyer for a waste management company, basically convincing the government that they were not destroying the environment.
Right.
And that you get good money to do that, apparently. And so she was like, I'm gonna buy him one of those video games he likes so much. Tell me which one he wants. And my mom was like, you should get him the Street Fighter thing that we can't afford. And then I went to visit her in November, so it was a few weeks before Christmas, and she was like, I don't understand what your mom said. You want to fight street people? I'm like, no.
Yes, I do. Let's go.
And so she took me to Toys R Us, and then I show it to her, and she's like, so you just like punch people? And I'm like, there's also fireballs. And she was so confused, and she's like, this is what you want? I'm like, yeah. And then she bought it, and of course I didn't get it until Christmas when I saw her next. And you know, that was just a random memory that I had from childhood. And then like 2-3 years ago, I happened to see her because she came up to the hospital at the same time I did when I went to go visit my father.
Yeah.
And I was wearing I think I was wearing my Capcom t-shirt, and it has some Street Fighter characters on it. And she says, that's got those Street Fighter people on it. I bought you that. And I was like, I'm glad you remember that, but yes. And she's like, do you still fight the Street Fighters?
Still out there fighting Street Saturn?
I was like, I guess I do still fight the Street Fighters. She has no idea what she has not played a video game since Space Invaders, at least, so she has no idea how any of it works. She's very confused to this day by it.
When the Wii came out, and I was living with my mom, it was 06, you know, so I was junior year of high school. I don't know why I said living with my mom. Of course I was. I was a junior in high school. In that magical Wii holiday season, even my mom was playing. I caught my mom playing Virtual Console titles. That's fucking insane. I was like, oh my God. Like, I remember I started to walk into the room, and I saw her, and I like stopped and like went back around the corner. And it's like, what is she doing? She's just playing Mario 3. Does she know how to play Mario 3?
So I had my Wii the year it came out, and I remember a girl that I was dating at the time asked if she could come crash at my house.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was on my birthday or on Christmas Day, but it was on one of those two. So it was in December, and she's there, and I had the Wii, and for some reason I remember it was the day that the Virtual Console went live, or the day that some game on Virtual Console went live, but it wasn't until after the shop flopped over at midnight or whatever.
Yeah, and
I was so anxious to stay up till midnight, and she was like, "Now come to bed," and I was like, But she was like,
Virtual Console.
And she was like, it's fine. Just let's go to bed. We got stuff to do in the morning. I'm like, all right. And then she fell asleep, and it's after midnight. And I'm like, I bet Walmart has them, and they're open right now. And
you went and bought a points card. I think you told me this story.
Yeah, I went and bought a points card and a classic controller at Walmart in the middle of the night. And she wakes up, and I'm playing SimCity on the Wii. And she's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, it's SimCity. It's important.
You don't understand.
But
someone has to manage the city. Who's
Right?
going to manage Fartsville?
And no, going back in time from that, 2001, the year that the GameCube and Xbox came out, I was hired at Electronics Boutique 3 days before Christmas or 4 days before Christmas. So I got the gauntlet, man. I was thrown right into it.
Was this your first retail job too?
It was my first retail job, yes.
Oh, brutal.
And
brutal.
And fortunately, they had enough people to work the register, so they didn't even bother to train me on that. They didn't know if I was going to be there long enough to have to learn that.
Right.
So I didn't learn the registers till after Christmas. So for the first several days I was there, they were just like, clean things. Just make sure that games stay on shelves and not on the floor, and that people don't look lost or confused. And I was like, well, how do I help them if they're lost or confused? And the district manager who was training me was like, what games do you want this year? And I was like, I guess Final Fantasy X and Metal Gear Solid 2. Just tell parents to buy that. Tell them to buy those things and get out of the store. That's it. Yeah. That's what you have to do. And I remember people came in there like, do you have the GameCube? And then I'd look in the back room and there'd be like a stack of 30 of them. I'm like, yeah, we do.
I can't sell you one, but it's back there.
No, we could. We had so many of them.
No, but you couldn't sell them.
No, I couldn't personally, but I was like, get in line and a guy will sell you one. And I just remember, like, because that was the first time I'd worked at the retail store, after years of being a huge fan of video games, the first time I walked back there and there was a stack of 30 GameCubes, I was like, this is like fucking Wonderland back here.
As far as final thoughts, we hope you had a nice holiday season. Yeah. For Uncut listeners, we hope you have a nice holiday season. Yeah. I'm not particularly fond of the holidays, if I'm being honest. I'm not a holiday person. I know that holiday depression is a real thing. Yes. So I hope that anybody out there who suffers from not enjoying the holidays also makes it through it. It's only 1 month and then it's over. But yeah, hopefully this trip down our memory lane was enjoyable.
Yeah,
I don't know, random stories about Christmas past.
I'm hoping that it helped you remember some of the holiday memories you have from when you were growing up, or whatever games you played, or whatever games you got, or whatever things you enjoyed. And if you want, come share them in the Discord with us.
Yeah, if anyone's got any good ones, come tell them to us. I want to hear it. I want to hear like what weird thing. Like, I was so excited for the Virtual Boy.
Yeah, I really want to hear about your Virtual Boy Christmas. I also really want to hear about somebody's 3DO Christmas. Please.
My mom was, to my parents' credit, they only bought us Nintendo stuff. If they were buying us anything, it said Nintendo or they weren't getting it.
Right.
And so we somehow skipped the Virtual Boy. So for the most part, it was high quality stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
We were all over the map. We got some of everything, but it was always after they were cheap and used. We would get other things. But man, we had some of everything, and then inevitably somebody would still get us a game for a console we didn't have.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't be like a family member. It'd be like my sister's current boyfriend would come over with like, I got you this game. Oh, great.
You got a Lynx?
It's for the CDI. Cool. Yeah, it plays in your Bomberman machine, right? Oh, sure. Yes.
Yeah. Well, you know what else plays in your Bomberman machine, Saturn? Our Patreon.
What?
At patreon.com/Retro Warriors, where you can get cool things like uncut versions of this show before Christmas so that it makes chronological sense in your life. You can also get Talking Wizards. We have After Hours. After Hours this month was me and Pablo talking about Pokemon for like an hour and a half. That was what we did. It's a good time. We would love to have your support. And if you don't want to support us financially, you can support us spiritually by rating and reviewing us on anything. It's just whatever. Just find something that has us on it. And put, thumbs up it, heart button it on Spotify. I don't know where you listen to this. We just make an MP3 and put it on the internet. I don't know how it got to you. It passes through a lot of hands from my computer to your device.
If it's being broadcast on a local radio station, please tell us. We want to know about that.
I don't even want money. I just would be happy to know.
We just want to know.
There's got to be some like fly-by-night radio stations that we don't have content. It's like, yes, we do. I got podcasts. It's so illegal.
Right.
Anyway, Do stay tuned after the ending theme. We're going to have Guy on the show to presumably share some of his holiday memories.
To tell us how our holiday memories were wrong.
Yes, he's going to come in here and be like, you guys have terrible holiday memories. He's going to judge our holiday memories.
Right.
That's what he's here.
He's mostly going to judge Justin's because Justin is somehow always wrong.
Yeah, that's how he's going to yell at me about something. Just prepare yourself. Anyway, we hope
I didn't
you
say
have.
he was going to yell at you. He was just
he's
gonna
gonna.
judge you.
He's gonna. We hope you have
very nice about it.
a wonderful holiday season. Yeah. We do want to thank the following patrons for making the show possible by starting with Atari 2600 consultant Marlowe 221.
And games purify our souls and leave room for our new development that challenges the mind. They are the products of humans' wisdom.
Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. I never thought I could feel so free, flying away on a wing and a prayer. Who could it be? Believe. It cuts off. It's character limit.
I'm glad you got it this time. I guess we're going to toss that one back and forth.
What's embarrassing is I tried to line it up so you got it because I didn't want to sing. Robert Vieira Jr.
Oh, then you skipped me. Elson Raves.
Keith Reynolds.
A huge Earthbound fan, excited to try it for the first time.
I hope you have by now.
I hope by now, yeah.
I really want the Patreon name to update and be like, I played it and it was really good. That's the day I'm waiting for.
Or even, I played it and it was fine.
Tam Chan 87.
Gary Heather.
And Brian Kim are all the people we want to thank for their kind contributions to our Patreon campaign.
And we also want to thank our producer Guy for...
And our producer Guy. And you can be thanked at our Patreon. So anyway, stay tuned after the show. Guys going to be on. It's going to be a good time. We hope you have a wonderful holiday season. Thank you for listening. And as always...
We hope you had a good holiday.
Had a good holiday season. There's February Valentine's Day counts. It's all the same season. November straight to February.
Perfect.
Anyway, thank you for listening, and as always, let us cling together. Welcome to the after party. We hope Guy's here because I didn't verify that he was on mic before I started doing this intro.
It's fine.
Hi, Guy. Oh no. Oh no, is he not here?
That was beautiful, sir. Very well done.
I like how you phrased it because I thought Yukon was a person.
What?
Because you were like, you Saturn said, and we'd like to thank Guy. And Justin's like, yeah, Guy. And Yukon. And then went off.
I do like that I did the intro and I didn't know if you were on mic. And I didn't even wait a second. I instantly panicked. It was like immediately there was... Hi, Guy.
Hey, well, how's it going?
Are you a holiday person? Do you enjoy the holidays?
I love the holidays.
That's good.
Okay, that's good.
I didn't have any memories growing up. So.
You want to judge our holiday memories?
No. Yeah. Okay. I guess that's weird.
No details. Just numerically on a scale of 1 to 10.
Oh, I thought you wanted me to rank them. I was going to rank Saturn 1, you 2, but
why does Saturn get 1?
Oh,
because it would make you mad.
Oh yeah. Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
That is accurate. No, I as a child, I loved the holidays because that was the time of the year that both my birthday and Christmas was. So it was the only time I ever got any kind of gifts.
Yeah.
As an adult, I do not love the holidays because it is all just pressure and stress because I am worried that people are going to remember my birthday. And also I'm worried that someone will buy me a gift and then I might have to buy them a gift. And that's a lot of stress.
Well, you know what, Saturn? I purchased you 2 gifts for Christmas.
Oh, God.
And now I'm going to give you one for your birthday and one for Christmas when we see each other next.
That's very sweet of you. And now I'm already panicking about how am I supposed to reciprocate that.
You're not.
By saying thank you for the gift. That was very nice.
Yeah,
very thoughtful of you.
That's all I require as your friend.
Well,
I strategically call the gifts I get you guys company gifts so that nobody feels obligated. Every year I'm like, that's the company gifts, a Retro Warriors gift. And
nice.
that way nobody, because people are like, oh, it's a company gift. I just get it because I earned it at the company.
I got a company gift of $150 this morning.
My company gift's not that good. I'll just go ahead and tell you up front. It's not $150 good.
Our site GM gave us a $150 Amazon gift card with a note attached that said, "Your bonus wasn't good enough this year. You deserve this."
That's good.
That's very nice.
Good. Guy, you got any holiday memories you want to share with us?
I guess. Well, like, okay, so I remember, like, the way that I remember it was like the first year after my parents got divorced, I got a Nintendo.
Yeah. How old were you when your parents divorced?
I was 5, so it was 1987.
Yeah, you were young.
Yeah.
But I found some Christmas pictures the other day. It said Christmas 1990, where it shows me opening my Nintendo. So I was off by at least 3 years.
Right.
Yeah, that's mine. I keep doing the same thing with mine. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that, and then I look it up, and it's like, no, I was way off.
Yeah, I did the same thing because I thought we had our NES in '87, and Mario Duck Hunt didn't exist in '87, so that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Oh man, but I do remember it, and it you know, kind of the opposite of, or maybe it's sort of the same thing as your brother did, Justin, where like you opened a tape and he was like, oh, I got a VCR, right?
Yeah.
I remember I opened it and my dad was like, I was like, I want to open this one. He's like, well, you might want to open the big one first.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I already picked this one up. I'm just going to go ahead and open
Which,
this.
to be fair, is contrary to how parents normally want you to open.
Right.
Normally, they want you to open the big one last.
They want you to ramp up to it.
So if there's a system, put it out there up front, man. Don't
Right.
you know?
Yeah, because I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm a planner.
Yeah.
And like once I've committed to a plan, I don't like deviation.
Yeah.
It throws me off real bad.
The plan is happening, whether we
Right.
want it or not.
Right.
So if I've decided I'm opening this one and somebody's like, well, why don't you open the other one? I'm like, my brain just broke. What?
Yeah. Right.
No.
So anyway, so I open it up, right, and I like crack it open and, well, not crack it open, like rip it open, and it's like this fucking like gold NES game, right?
Nice.
And it was Zelda, right?
Action
And
52? Oh, okay.
I was so stoked. And then, but in my head, I was like, oh, but I've only got an Atari. My poor dad. I
Right.
got the wrong thing.
Right.
He's so dumb. Thanks, Dad, you moron. What's in the big box? More games I can't play? Idiot.
The only time that we got a big box at Christmas that I remember was when we got the big ass Cobra Command Center for G.I. Joe.
Oh,
Nice.
man.
Oh man, that thing was so badass.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah. Oh man, that thing was awesome.
So, guy, never mind. Go ahead.
No, but I love
your story.
Christmas in general. Like growing up, I was with my dad most of the time for Christmas, and it was just me and my dad. So we would go to Arkansas a lot, either like the day after Christmas or, you know, shortly thereafter, and it would spend the rest of like the school break in Arkansas. And so it's one of those things where like as soon as we got there, we did like family Christmas, and then because I had or still have 3 aunts in Arkansas and all my cousins, so I have a lot of memories of like right after Christmas or during the Christmas season, like playing everybody's new games and stuff, and playing with their new toys that they got and stuff.
Nice.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, it was a fun time, and I miss it. You know, it's one of those things where I went to Arkansas for a wedding in October. And it was the first time I had been in the state in almost a decade at that point. And it was just, it brought back this whole like feeling of, oh yeah, this is like home, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
And that was real nice.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's good, man. My dad still lives in the house that I grew up in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
my parents still live in the house that I grew up in.
It's not doing great. It's not in great shape right now. It's a very old house.
My parents' roof is already caving in some places, and they don't have ceilings in some rooms.
And my sister is in and out of the house, and there's a very hectic over there. Very hectic house.
Well,
And,
you know, my dad's house wasn't well taken care of. I mean, it's generally like it was kept up, from the standpoint of like repairs that need to be repaired.
Right, it's not like falling apart.
Right. The air conditioner, the compressor, and the thing inside, the blower inside are both from like last year, manufactured in 2020, like shit like that. But the man didn't dust for 30 years and probably didn't vacuum for 25 years.
Right.
Shit like that.
I mean, should we be doing that?
Yes.
Is it vital? But no.
It's pretty vital.
But we don't have to clean the toilets, right?
No,
that's optional.
You just
Great.
let the dog lick them, and it's fine.
Yeah,
oh my
let it
God.
grow up. my
Justin's
parents. My parents are both hoarders, and anytime that my sister or I go over there, we try to throw things away when they're not paying attention. And we also went over there to install bidets, and oh my God, they hadn't cleaned the toilets since we moved out.
Oof.
Which was
That's
20 years ago.
terrifying.
Oh my God, it was
no.
so gross.
What?
Oh,
What?
I've thrown up so many times.
The toilets at Dad's house are all like black in the bowl and shit.
Yeah.
It's like real, like one of the sinks is like some sort of like crystallized crusty shit from the water that's built up.
What the fuck, man? I mean, I'll go like a week without cleaning my toilet and be like, oh, this thing's kind of gross. I need to clean this thing, but like, man, woof.
The first time my parents came to my apartment, and I have like dusters everywhere. I've got my vacuum. I've got a little toilet brush and some bleach right next to the toilet at all times. Everything has to be clean. And I brought him over here. I made him dinner. We chatted for a while. They went home. And then apparently my mom called my sister and said, your brother's house looks weird. It's like a model home. Nobody lives in that house.
What a jerk. No. But it's, it's one of those things like, and that's not to shit on my dad and whatever.
Right.
But like, I'm sure that contributed to his poor health towards the end of his life and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that I am excited about is in we're going to renovate the house and fix it up, but sort of keep the feel of it and the aesthetic of what it's got going on inside and outside, so that it still resembles my childhood home, or at least is an homage to it. But we're modernizing a lot of things about it.
Yeah.
And adding on some new spaces, and one of the reasons I'm excited about that is because I want my house, going forward, starting next year, to kind of be the house where we have Christmas, whether it's, my wife's year with the kids or my year with the kids. Everybody comes over to this, big house space and just spends Christmas Eve there, opens presents in the mornings, and then goes about their Christmas day.
Yeah. That's really nice. I'm glad you can have that house. I suspect my childhood home is going to belong to probably several banks whenever my dad no longer owns it. Is where that's gonna end up.
My nephew keeps trying to tell my parents that they should put the house to him in the will, and that he has earned it. And I am.
How do you earn a house?
I don't know. I'm fine with that. I don't want that house because it is falling apart. But it's pretty much the only asset they have. So my sister, who is actually the executor of their estate and is helping them put all that shit together, said more likely we will sell it and sell all of the things inside of it, and then just split it between everybody after we've paid for whatever funerals are necessary, because that'll probably have to pay for that. So it is not going to be an exciting place to live in like my nephew thinks it will be, because it is falling the fuck apart.
This holiday memory episode has gotten very dark. And I'm kind of glad it has, because as someone who has never enjoyed the holidays, I've known people in my life where the holidays are a truly depressing time for them. They get for whatever reason. I'm not quite that level, but I don't like them. I find them to be an annoyance, and I wish they would go away, and they grate on my nerves. And growing up, not liking Christmas and saying you don't like Christmas, people are mean about it.
It's true.
They're like, oh, you're just a Grinch and blah blah. Like they're not nice about it. You're like, I don't like Christmas. I don't like the holidays. It's, I don't love it. And people. So let me just say, if you have someone in your life who has holiday time depression or doesn't love the holidays, be nice to them about it. There's probably a reason they don't like the holidays. Right. It's okay to not like them. You don't have to. No one's gonna make me. You can't make me. All right.
Try.
They've been trying.
We can tie you down and make you watch MST3K the entire fucking day.
Well, I mean, I'll do that. You don't have to tie me down. So that's, that's fine.
Looks like we've already solved this problem.
I have been coming around on them since I had a kid, but I still have to go to many, many Christmases, and I find that to be very frustrating.
I can definitely understand how that would be exhausting. I never had that growing up. We always just had the 1.5 Christmases every year, and then eventually it was just one, and we'd stop doing them at home, and then we stopped going anywhere, so it was just no Christmases. So
my kid
not really had one in years.
My kid is that age where she's old enough to definitively want things for Christmas, but not old enough to like want anything like good, you know? We were like, hey, write a Christmas list. And so she wrote out this list, and it's like a rainbow blanket, a heart badge, and a gorgeous diamond necklace.
Was she just watching The Price is Right and writing things down?
I don't know. And then I'm watching it, and then I remember the other day she had been like, Daddy, what do you want for Christmas? And I said, beer and money. And on the list was beer and money. And then below that,
that's really sweet though. She's looking out for you.
I know. Below that is a rock tumbler, and I was like, "What is this? 1973? Like, kind of 6-year-old?"
Well, maybe your wife wants a diamond necklace, Justin.
Maybe that's what it was. Maybe she was looking out for both of you.
And then tonight, my wife was like, "Hey, we need to write your formal letter to Santa." And so she has the list my kid wrote.
Did she address it to whom it may concern? Was it that formal?
Very formal.
To whom it may concern, this year I wish to receive the following items.
To Mr. S. Kloss. And
it's funny to me because since we don't have regular TV, she doesn't ever see commercials. So she doesn't see toys. Like when I was a kid, you asked for the toys that were in the commercials. That's what kids ask for every year.
Right.
Yeah.
So her stuff is just like weird shit because she's just 6 and doesn't see commercials. And they were writing the formal list where my wife's like, all right, we're going to write it all out, everything you want to Santa. And she gets her little like list that she wrote. And I walk by them in the kitchen writing this list. And my kid is arguing with her about whether or not to put beer on the list. And she's like, no, Daddy wants beer. We have to put it on there so Santa brings it.
Oh, man. I hope there's one can of Shiner wrapped up under the tree.
At this point, I mean, there's gotta be, right? A beer under the Christmas tree.
That's greatness.
Can you set it up so that it's like a Christmas Story where you're all sad because you didn't get beer, and then like fucking Courtney finds it, like hidden behind the tree.
Yeah, there's one more back there, and I'm like, it's a Christmas miracle.
Santa is real.
I put it in the fridge next to all my other beer.
Still wrapped up though.
Yeah. Well, it's Santa's.
I do. I've been doing Christmas movies. My kid and I watched. We always watch Christmas Stories. It's good.
Mm-hmm.
And then we watched that 8-Bit Christmas.
Oh, that's a good one.
About that kid that wants the Nintendo.
Oh, that one made me cry a whole lot though.
I keep meaning to watch that.
It made you cry a whole lot. Wow. Oh, I guess there's a lot of dad themes in that one.
At the end,
that's
cheap as shit. I was a sucker for it, but whatever.
Yeah, it really plays up that dad angle, huh?
Yeah.
Honestly, more than it needs to, given the story.
Yeah, it really does. That's why I said it was cheap.
I thought it was pretty good. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to watch this every year, like it wasn't like, but it was like, yeah, that was fun. That was a fun holiday movie.
Because they might remove it from streaming by next year.
Oh, well, there you go. I did find it funny that they licensed, because they showed the Nintendo a bunch of times.
Yep.
And they were real good about not showing any specific games except for Paperboy and Rampage.
Yeah.
Never showed
right,
Mario.
Yeah. Well, the movie was produced by Warner Brothers, who owns Paperboy and Rampage.
And so it's like this thing, and then they go to one kid's house, and he's got a Nintendo, and this is like the one kid that has the Nintendo already, and they're playing these video games that look like they were made now. They look like they look like Shovel Knight, like fake pixely indie games, nice. and I was trying not to be that person. I'm like, it's a fucking movie. They can't fucking afford to put Mario games in them. Nintendo would never license that.
They could have put Spy Hunter in there. They own that.
And then they wanted to show the light gun. So they have the gun.
No, they wanted to show the Power Glove.
They showed the light gun too.
Oh yeah, I guess they did.
There was a light gun game.
Day.
And it was like not Duck Hunt. It was just like this shitty like CG made up game. It wasn't CG, but it was like fake 8-bit graphics. And then they wanted to show off the Power Gloves. They showed off a tournament fighting game. And I was like, the NES had like one tournament fighting game on the whole platform.
Karate Champ.
Well, it had a Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighter 2.
Oh, okay, I had that as well.
Yeah. That's what I was
2.
thinking of. Yeah, so 2. It had 2 on the whole platform. And it was like big, giant, chunky sprites. Like, and it was that... I was so annoyed because really they could have just never shown the screen and the scene would have worked fine.
And even if they did show the screen, Warner has bought enough rights to old video games. They could have just used some of those.
I know. I do love that they had the Power Glove, and in the story they're like, no, it sucks.
Yeah.
Like, they learned that it's trash.
That's good. I'm glad that they revealed that, unlike the Wizard.
Dude, they did a lot of things like that. If you want to hear more about it, listen to Cinema Rogues. But
I was gonna say, Guy, you did a whole episode on it with Andrew, so go listen to Cinema Rogues on 8-Bit Christmas.
But yeah, like it's like there was one part where the kid's like wearing like purple boots or whatever, like girl boots.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's awful. They're girl boots. And then he's telling the story in the future to his daughter, and his daughter immediately pops up and goes, "How are they girl boots?" He's like, "Well, they're purple." And she's like, "So?"
What did he say?
Nice.
He was like, it was different in the 80s.
Yeah. So they do a lot of stuff like that where like it plays on the difference between the 80s and the modern sensibilities, I guess. And I thought that was clever.
Right in the beginning, he's like, "I'm riding my bike," and she's like, "You're wearing a helmet, right?" And then he remembers the story, and it pops a helmet on his head, and he's like, "Of course, we always wore helmets in the 80s." You know,
I didn't know anyone who owned a helmet for their bicycle in the 80s.
I didn't have to wear a helmet until I started skateboarding, and then my mom was like, "For the love of God, wear a helmet." But yeah, we didn't even own bicycle helmets. Like, why?
I don't know anybody that did.
And then in retrospect, we rode our bikes down a 50-mile-an-hour road. Right. Like, probably should have a helmet on. What are you saying, Guy?
No, I was saying that I was talking to Andrew about it on the episode that like, I don't have a list of movies that, like Christmas movies that I watch like every year because it's Christmas time. Right. But I have more of like a list of movies that if it's Christmas time and somebody's like, "Let's watch a Christmas movie," I'll suggest one.
It's in your rotation.
Right.
Like Home Alone and Die Hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Home Alone, Die Hard, Nightmare Before Christmas is good anywhere between Halloween and Christmas.
Right.
And then, Christmas Story, Elf. And I think this one goes in the mix. It was a pretty good movie.
Yeah. Nice. Well, we're coming up on an hour and 45-minute holiday episode.
How about that? How did you do that?
I don't know.
I even skipped some of my notes.
Oh, I know, Saturn. I know.
I got a story to tell you about Justin talking, but we'll talk about that in pre-show.
About me talking? Oh, yeah, I remember that story. I've been drinking too much caffeine lately.
I like how you were briefly like, what could I have done? Oh, no, I know exactly what I did.
I remember that one. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. If you are on the Uncut, we hope you have a nice holiday. If you're on the regular feed, we hope you had a nice holiday. And we are looking forward to the trials and tribulations of 2022.
Because certainly it won't be just another of the same last 2 years, right?
It's going to be great. I'm sure. Anyway, if you'd like to buy an NFT of this show, you can't. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. We'll see you later. Guy, thanks for being on. Everyone, I hope you had a great end of the year.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.